So I decided to go all in on Fire in the Lake.
Oh, nice.
And I got myself a copy of Sovereign of Discord. I'm going to be introing this game to you today here on Legendary Tactics. Sovereign of Discord is the prequel to Fire in the Lake, and I'm really intrigued by this one. I think it's such an interesting idea to create a game that is about the sort of the appetizer to, I guess, the main course, if you could put it so crudely. But this is reflecting an era of the history that I think, as far as I'm aware, has not been dealt with in any other game. And honestly, I think coin might be the best way to deal with the events leading up to obviously the full-blown Vietnam War. Now, first of all, we have the solo bot cards. This is the system that all the coin games are using now for their solo gameplay. We also have a whole bunch of new event cards. Lots of differences in this one. There's no coups. That Diem is the leader throughout the game, but there are some changes throughout. But it is an interesting aspect of the history as well. Just the fact that Diem was the leader through this whole period. We also have some orange houses. These are strategic hamlets, which are part of the original strategy for quelling the revolution, the rebellion. And we have some baggies, of course, and even more event cards, including pivotal events and the coup cards, such as they are. They work a little bit differently, obviously, but anyway, they've got a bunch of different events, different personalities, and it's an aspect as well, I think, of the Vietnam conflict that's a little bit more obscure, a little less known, and I think that is always one of the intriguing parts of historical board gaming, is you get to explore history in a way that you otherwise wouldn't. We're going to look at the different play rates. These are for the solo game, the solo bot. We have a bunch of other things for the solo play. I believe that's all for that, including choosing the priorities of the bot and so forth. In this game, they have the Viet Cong, and there are the ARVN, but North Vietnam and the United States are more off board. They're more influencers to the conflict. It reminds me a little bit of Liberty or Death, actually, the French faction there, where things don't really get going. You do eventually get French troops on the board in that game, but in this case, you get some extra advisors as the US and so forth, which are the green cubes, and they can certainly help out. But they have these tracks, the Hanoi track and the Washington track, that basically keep an eye on the commitment levels and release a certain number of troops or resources to each side. They also reuse the Colonial Twilight system of choosing between events and operations. I think it's really, really clever. There's also a track there where the ARVN spends resources, and they get cheaper, more expensive, depending on the commitment levels of the US. And anyway, it's very similar to Cuba Libre, that part. That's the playbook, which has the example of play. We also have the solitaire rules, very, very similar to the solitaire rules. Everything since Gandhi basically has been using those cards as the main driver of the solitaire game. Then we have the rule book, and the rule book is actually not that bad. I was very pleasantly surprised. There are some new rules, but basically they're just building on the system that was there before, so you should be able to get up and going fairly quickly. And we'll just put the box top back on and put everything back in the shrink wrap, as we love to do here on Legendary Tactics, just to keep our games well preserved and dust free. We hope you like this reboxing, and now it's time for the preview.
Awesome.
So Sovereign of Discord is the prequel to Fire in the Lake.
Oh, all right. So that's one of your favorite coins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got Fire in the Lake base game.
Yep.
You got Fall of Saigon, which is the sequel.
Okay.
All the way to the end of the war. This is the prequel. All right.
Wow.
So this is the
prequel.
It's an interesting game because it is starting before the Americans really arrived in the in Vietnam.
In Vietnam,
right?
okay.
So if there's the usual sort of playbooks and so forth, but the rule book's pretty short. It's not too bad.
Wow,
which
for
is
a coin
unusual
game,
for a coin
very
game.
shocking actually. Only
Yeah.
16 pages.
I
Come
know,
on.
I know, and that includes the scenarios and everything. The playbook is like the thickest part of it. It's got all the.
Have you read through this yet? And
Yeah.
how did you find it?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward
Yep.
if you're familiar with the base game.
With the coin games? Okay.
Now,
Okay, these
the
are the
game
typical-
itself requires Fire in the Lake. You
Oh, it
gotta
does?
have the map board and pieces and so forth.
Right.
But really, like, you've only got the only forces that are really on the board are the ARVN, the Republic of Vietnam, and the Viet Cong.
Right.
The North Vietnamese and the US are off board for the most part. There's, I think it's 6 US cubes that are advisors, but they don't actually fight themselves. But other than that, you've really just got the 2 forces going at it. The Viet Cong versus the ARVN Republic of Vietnam.
Which are the ones from the original base game?
Yes.
Now, NATO.
You only have the 2 factions. The other ones influence it like the French do in Liberty or Death, for example.
NATO, if I'm looking to get Sovereign of Discord or Fire in the Lake, where would you recommend maybe that I could look for it?
Yeah, a really good place to look would be Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight Games has an incredibly wide collection of board games, card games, miniatures, all sorts of amazing stuff for all your gaming needs, really. And you can visit them in person or order online, have them ship the stuff to you wherever you are.
Awesome. Great.
Right? So this basically there's a whole bunch of more cards. So they've got a bunch more event cards that you can put into the game.
Okay, and that is exactly like, this is just looking exactly like, the base game.
Yes, yeah. And I think they even have some alternate cards for later on.
The 4 symbols across the top.
Yes. And then you have like the track. So first of all, it uses the same initiative track that they added in Colonial Twilight for the 2-player.
Yes.
So everyone places in the middle, and then depending on which box you play to, then the other player can play in the neighboring box. So it's a really simple way of managing the initiatives.
Do these have prop cards? Like in the earlier coin games?
Yeah, it's a little bit different because there were in Fire and Lake there were coup cards.
Coup cards, okay.
And they have something similar. I'd have to remember what it is now, but basically they have something similar.
Is it as dramatic as like where it says like, a coup?
Yeah, but coup cards, Diem, who is the sovereign of the coup card. Yeah. So they do have the cards, but it's Diem was the leader through this whole period.
Okay.
So there's not the same kind of turnover as there was in Fire in the Lake. So there are some
officer
coup. There's some stuff that happens, but it's a little bit different.
Buddhist coup. All right. So there are some.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm guessing those are the signal at the end of the round.
Yeah. To the reset.
Okay.
But Diem's the leader through the whole thing.
The whole game.
And then you've got the pivotal events and stuff as well. You also have these tracks which you overlay. So you put this over top. This is the Washington track, which is the support for the war from the administration in the US. And based on where it is, it provides extra pieces. So there's more advisors put into the war. There's more ARVN pieces added in and so forth. So it gives you access to more pieces as the
sort of like supplies
swings. Yeah,
the supplies come in.
But if you lose support, it can potentially hamper those units that are available.
Do you actually have to add to it if you lose support?
So if you lose the support, you don't have to pull them off until the reset phase. So they stay in for now, but
they're yeah, they're on the block.
And then there's a similar thing for the NVA, the Hanoi track, where they provide more guerrillas for the Viet Cong and bases and so forth. So they also have these cadre pieces, which are just these ones here. I don't know if you can see them. They're just these red circles here.
Okay.
And these help out with certain operations.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other interesting piece is they have these things called strategic hamlets.
Oh, all right.
So these are just little orange houses, basically. Right. And historically, it was essentially when there started to be a bunch of unrest in the countryside. They set up these things called strategic hamlets, where they tried to like move everyone into. They kind of forced them to move into these heavily protected areas where they could live, and supposedly it was supposed to take the wind out of the revolutionaries and so forth.
Okay.
But instead, it started out well, and then it started to go awry, and there's a lot of like starvation and unrest, further unrest that stemmed from it. But but they have that mechanic built in. Okay. But other than that, it's this is really all that you're worried about. And what's really neat, what I'm really interested in trying, I'm looking to cover for the channel, is you can play this game, and when this game finishes, there's a way to transition to Fire in the Lake.
Leaving the board state?
Leaving the board state.
Oh, come on.
And then you can transition to the sequel afterwards.
The 3-game playthrough.
The entire thing through. I have no idea how many hours that would take.
Wow.
But it is kind of fascinating. You can play the entire conflict all the way through.
So that's amazing. And I was just happening to look at the different like ability powers for each, and a lot of them look like
for the ARVN and for the Viet Cong, they're pretty much the same. The US, it's more like advise.
There's advisors, strategic hamlets that looks new to me. Washington Track.
Yeah, and the North Vietnam is
propagandize.
Also,
that looks like a neat.
They're trying to spread propaganda and so forth, but they're not directly involved. There's no red cubes. There's no green. Not a lot of green cubes in the game at all.
Right.
So
so
it's. And there's one other track here, the regime stability track. So depending on how stable, it's like Cuba Libre, where if it's stable, all the operations for the ARVN is it costs 2. If it's chaotic, they cost 4. So it's harder to get stuff done in chaos.
I see one more little packet in there that I'm quite curious about.
This is the way the solitaire system now works for coin games.
It's the bot.
Yeah, it's the bot. So it's a deck of cards, and based on, you kind of read through, and depending on what
spreadsheet. It's like a
spreadsheet or something like that.
A flow chart.
So it says, hey, if you got a certain number of spaces at support, go here.
Right.
Or if you roll the dice and this is what you get, go do this. And then it gives you the different activities, or to say, if you get to this point, flip the card over or whatever.
Right.
So
so that's
really
just
simple
the solo mechanic.
Yeah, they introduced this in Gandhi, actually.
Oh, all right.
And it's kind of the way that they've gone, because the Fire in the Lake solo
big
game,
charts.
Those charts were just.
You were showing me those. That is like hard to navigate.
Yeah, Andean Abyss was fine. Cuba Libre was fine. Distant Plane got to get a little bit more complicated, than Fire in the Lake was. The solo game was so hard to play. But so they've gone to this with a lot of the coin games now.
And have you tried a few games with that system?
Yes, I've used the system in other coin games. And it works great.
Does
I think, I think it really works well. I'm playing a game of Red Dust Rebellion now solo, and using those cards. It works much.
The system
better.
is really refined.
Much better.
Good to hear. Okay.
Sure. So that's just my little intro to Sovereign of Discord. I wanted to kind of give you a look inside and just kind of go over some of what the components actually mean. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to get out there,
get gaming, and be legendary.